Hi, this is Paul Inch from the Tank Modeler channel in my first update on my Land Wasser Schlepper. I think I said that right, but forgive me again if I've got it wrong. Anyway, you can see this is the progress I've got up to this point. Things have been going really well. On my modding time I normally spend about 2 hours a day, but I've done a bit more on this recently because I sat downstairs. There's 147 track links per side, so that's a hell of a lot of snip and cleaning and sanding. So I spent about 2.5 hours downstairs with the wife watching TV, and I was sitting there with me goggles on, making sure I snipped as cleanly as I could for each part. Now what I will say to you, there aren't too many spares. I actually put more than 147 in to get the links to tidy up reasonably well, and also get a slight dip in between, as you can see, the sag underneath the tracks because of the weight. But I didn't put a heavy sag on, but you can't because there isn't enough tracks to do that. So, but I did break a couple when I was joining them up, because they do clip in nicely. And when I did the second set, went to full length, and all I did then is run Tamiya extra thin all the way along the centre seams between where the road wheels sit, and actually let that glue dry for about 5 to 6 minutes and then sliver them through and attach them. Now, 1 or 2 broke on the first track, but what I found is that I put them to one side and I had to use them to give me a little bit of sag. So, and I glued the bit that was snapped and together and put them on, and you can't see the difference anyway between the ones that are good and the ones that are bad. So please remember, when you're building the tracks, don't throw any away at all. Build 147 per side, and then obviously you've got the extra tracks to add into it to fill the gap if you want a sag. So there you go. So the tracks went really well. The axles were fiddly. There's quite a few pieces to the axles. They were a bit fiddly, but I got there again with those in the end as well. And I do like the look of it. This is the early version of the Land Schlepper, as I call it. So the early version. I've got a late version to build, which is different. It has a little cutout here, and only one like a funnel in the middle. Well, it's not a funnel actually. It's actually an observation post for the commander. But in this one you've got the 3. But down here you've got doors that open, and there's an open entrance area that comes down into the vehicle with steps. This has got steps inside. You might just be able to see them if I tilt it there. Oh, you can see them anyway. There they are in there. This bit comes in and out. I've only placed it in there. If you notice the colour in the change of colour from the top and the side, that's because this model, when it was built and released, was actually a modification of the late version, adding all the early stuff to it. That's why there's different colours of plastic on it. No problem, because the parts fit just as well as the original ones do. I've also put some of the floor panels in there. You can see that, the floor panels, they're all in there, and they've got to have their little handles put in, which is another little job I'm going to do later tonight, whilst watching the YouTube. Watching and listening to YouTube. So I'm going to be doing those, and then also the last thing I'm going to be doing today, because this will be the last part of this build for a while, we'll be adding the doors and the actual meshes to the back engine deck area, and obviously the front door, and then I'm going to leave the top bit for after the Corvette's finished. Now, what else is it? What else was I going to say? Yeah, it's definitely difficult to actually get this top to fit nicely to the top one. Not insurmountable, but it is difficult. So I actually, some of the pegs around the front I actually picked off, so I could actually get them to fit nice and snug, and I taped them down with the old Tamiya tape and left it to glue. And what I did was that once I got it squarely fitted, once I got it squarely fitted on there with the tape holding it down, I run around extra through in dotted places around the front and on the front, so and waited for it to dry overnight. And then when I took the tape off, I run around the rest of it with a bit of Tamiya extra thing to run into the gaps to fill it, and made sure it was all moulded down. And I actually put some extra tapes in the places where I hadn't got tape previously to hold them down as well, so it gives a nice strong bond. The underneath, I'll take this off before I drop it. The underneath went, oops, that's that bit come out, don't worry about that. Underneath went really well as well. I haven't got the propellers in, but I've got the actual the rudders in at the back, as you can see, and the hook hanging down because it's not in use, because it could be put down just like a back of a tank. And you can see it's went together quite nicely. I'm just going to put that back into there, and I'm going to put my steps back in. As I said earlier, they weren't built. I built this up. This is 2 parts. I just built it up to see if it fitted in there nice and snugly, and as you can see, it does. So there you go. The inside's this roof lifts off, and I'm going to leave it that way because it's a nice snug fit when you put it in there dry, and it went together really well. There's a lot of details on the inside that you've got to be putting there, like rifle racks coming in the side of the vehicle and the other side. So there's lots of internal details, like the steering wheel, the instrument panel, 3 seats along the front, and then obviously the funnel areas and bits and pieces. So, and the hatchway obviously can be either open or closed. And because I'll be building this one with full interior, I may leave those hatches open or close them, so that I can put the dinghy on top, because basically I'll be lifting this up anyway to see inside anyway. So there you go. Now the windows aren't very nice, they're clear. You needed a bit of cleaning up inside these, got a little bit of flash inside them circles. No problem, with a nice pointy scalpel, run inside there very gently around the curve, done it nice on the very pointy edge of it. Solved the problem straight away, no problem at all. So as I said, I'm enjoying this build. I'm looking forward to the next part, really. We're doing the insides, but before I go any further as well, after I've done all this, when my next job, when I come back into it, will be drill a hole either side of these little squares you can see. I think there's 47 in total. And what it is, that's to take the I think I've got it over here, back with you in a second. Yeah, it's to take this stuff here, which is the weave, the actual weave, and this is the like a bollard that goes around the outside. Modern tugs and that have got tyres hanging over the side, that type of thing, and some rope, but mainly tyres. But but when they used to, in World War II, they used a lot of this sort of it's basically a woven ropes to actually give it a bit of cushion when they go into a harbour, because these were tugs, these are water tugs, so when they were bumping up to it or pushing things, it actually gave it something to rub up against it. It didn't damage the hull of the actual vehicle itself. So there you go. Now this is for the mid version, but I've looked on the pictures and photographs, and the mid versions bits and pieces look very similar to the early one, so that's where I'm going to go with it. Now I've got the late vehicles I mentioned earlier on of this vehicle, and I've sent away to the same company, and their actual if I get this card out, you'll be able to read it better, I think. Here we go. And if you freeze it, you'll be able to get the information. There you go, that's what it is. That is the Thachweave products, and it's in Canada if I remember rightly, and it's called ThachweaveTripod.com, and a bloke there is called Scott, who's helped me when I bought this originally, and this must be about 4 years ago, it must be about that, when I purchased this set, and the ones for the duck as well. And because I was sending for the late set, I also sent something because I found my kit similar to Switcher's, the landing craft that he's building at the moment. I found my kit of it in the shed. I must have put it in the shed with one of 2 other kits I had in storage, and so I'm going to be building that later on. So I sent for the actual cushions for that as well. They hang over, the little bollards are on the side, running around the side, so the tie downs. So I've got those coming, so that when I build that kit, I'll have something similar in rope hanging down the sides in regular places, which they did have. So there you go. They weren't always hanging on the side. Sometimes they'd be thrown up on top of the deck, but they still be there anyway. So I'm going to be using them, and it was really helpful. I contacted them yesterday by by email, which is the system they use on their site, which is basically Thachweave.tripod.com if you want to go to that, and very helpful. Within hours we'd sorted out the business. He'd sent me PayPal connection to pay the account, and off it went, and he's putting it in the post today. Now obviously he wants me to let him know when it arrives and safely, which is a fair thing, because at the end of the day he's sending it out to me, wants to know it gets here, and he wants to know how long it took as well, obviously. Anyway, so there, he's a really helpful guy, the Scott over there at Thachweave, and I'll use them again if I need any more, but I've got a few bits and pieces already, but they do different scales, 1/35th, 48th and 72nd, and I think another scale as well, I think. But if you go to their site, you'll see what I mean. Very interesting, and they also do other things for military vehicles and all, like netting for barrels on Fireflies and all that. So it's very interesting. I've got a Firefly, so I'm bound to be going back to him for that anyway, to get that lovely netting that they put on the barrels to sort of disguise it. And I've got a Cromwell that needs a similar on a 75mm barrel, and they've got those as well. So really good, nice looking company, do some nice stuff with regards to rope and Thachweave and weaving stuff. really interesting site. So I'm giving them a plug because it was really helpful, and you can't say anything fairer than that. Right, here we go then. So this model then, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be done a little bit more tonight, and I may do another update on it when I've done those bits to show you, but then it will be a really short one. So I'm really enjoying this, and just like I said, the little tips to remember is basically making sure you actually get this snugly fitted on the top using any tape really. I just used Tamiya tape because this is the one I've got over the other side, which I'll use the thicker version of it, the thicker version to do it. There you go, and tie it round, and then I glued it in place. That was okay. And also the tracks, make sure you go that. One other thing, they are sided. I never noticed until I built mine. I cut them all off and I found out they're sided. Now it doesn't look like it now because I've actually trimmed off the slightly longer extensions on some of them with a sanding stick, because the fact is I didn't know, and I was building the tracks because they do click together normally just the same way for all of them, but they are sided. So it does give you a little bit of an awkwardness around the back end if you don't get it sided as it should be, but I got round it no problem, and my back is looking quite nice, as you can't see, but there you go. So the back's quite nice on mine, so I'm still pleased with it, but I know that for the next one, as I said. But I will be using Fro model tracks on the next one because I bought those about 5 years ago thinking that they'd fit this one. Of course they don't, because they were the late version, which is the 38T check tanks tracks they use on that, on the later version, so they are different to this one. Anyway, so that will be it for now, and thank you for watching. And oh yeah, I will show you something. This is when you get to this part on the track, so I've got to go back to it, and as I said, I missed it anyway. There it is. It goes right to the end. Oh yes, the tracks you put in the end, but as I said, I'm going to spray it in situ anyway. Here they are. That's what it said. Whoops, this is what I missed because it was at the back of the book, see, and I thought I'd do the tracks. There you go. Track link pins are separated into left and right. Please use the L parts of the track for the left and side, and the F parts for the right side. The trouble is they come in one bag and you wouldn't even notice the difference. You can't see the difference in them. So because I didn't read this, that's what made give me the slight problem. But as I said, I got through it, no problem. But the point is, if you do this kit, make sure you go to when you're doing the tracks, go back and have a quick read of this before you start doing. They do click in nice, and it is a firm click. But I wouldn't want to leave it on the model loose because they will break quite easily because they're quite fragile in that way. But it's worth remembering that. So there you go. So this is the last bit, and I actually jumped to put the tracks on early, so it was done. Because I'll be painting it in situ, like I said. Because you can actually get a brush around all these black bits on the side and on the other side as well, quite easily. A nice thin brush. These are the top bits as well. So I'm going to be doing that as this particular kit. Obviously with my Fro model tracks, I'll be dealing with them at the end because I can build them up because they're flexible and they'll all articulate. I can actually slide them through nice and easily. Anyway, that's my next one on that. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll give you a short update sometime in the week on what the progress is for the tonight, in this evening, sorry, so you can see what progress has been made. Now it will be just the engine deck bits done and that'll be it, just to cover those little holes up. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and sorry for waffling on a little bit, but there you go. See you next time. Bye.